Hello, it's Ryan from 2MinuteTennis.net and welcome to Friday Q&A episode 7. This is where I answer your tennis questions. If you have a question you would like me to include in an upcoming episode, go ahead and throw it in the comments below, and please hit that like button and make sure and check that you've subscribed to the channel. All right, so I've got 3 great questions for you. The first one is from DT. For doubles game, I discovered that I stand at the service line, and after my partner serves, I move forward for the volley. Is that okay? That's a great question, and I'm excited to answer it. All right, from Max. Hey Ryan, I'm a shorter player, and oftentimes the ball is at head level. How do you recommend I return a ball moving very fast at head level? Love the videos, they've made me exponentially better. Really glad to hear that, Max. I appreciate the support. I appreciate you trusting me to help you with your game, and I'm excited to give you a great simple tip. It's going to help you out with the high ground stroke. All right, from how do I stop my racket from going open too early while going up to contact on the serve instead of being on edge and able to pronate properly? Why does this happen, and is this called early pronation? Boy, is this an awesome question. There are going to be a lot of people who benefit from these questions all together. All 3 questions are awesome. So if any of these questions interest you, stick around and let's get started. Now, the first question was from DT, and it's about being the server's partner in doubles. And is it okay to start the point on the service line and then go forward after? So let me give you a couple situations where you would want to start on the service line as the server's partner. The first being if your partner is getting pretty close to hitting you with their serve. If you being up in the conventional, middle of the service box position is getting you basically, the ball is like whizzing by your ear and you're feeling pretty uncomfortable, then it's not a bad idea to then move back onto the service line. You see a lot of players in this situation where they're afraid they're going to get hit by the serve, and instead of moving back, they move over. I don't want you to move over. You're just removing yourself from the court, and it's going to be harder to poach the return. So rather than moving over, just start closer to the service line. And then as the serve is hit, you can then go forward. So if that's what's happening, DT, then that's a great choice by you, just to make sure that you're not getting hit by the serve, but you're not removing yourself off the court. The next idea is if your opponent has an awesome lob, or maybe you're a little on the shorter side and the ball keeps going over your head. So starting on the service line is a good idea, just to let them know, hey, your lob's not going to work. I'm moving farther back. Don't even try to lob, because if they lob it and now you're back here, you can crush that overhead either at their partner, through the middle. You have choices, and it's going to be an aggressive choice. So starting on the service line when your opponent has a great lob return is a great choice. Another time would be if your partner has...
Sorry, could you say that again?
My watch is talking to me. When your partner has a weak serve, if you're up here, let's say it's a second serve, and your partner has a weak serve, and your partner comes in, or your opponent, I'm sorry, and just crushes the ball right at you, and you're getting pummeled by the return, you can start on the service line. And by starting on the service line, it gives you extra time to react. Or whether they hit it at you or even down the alley, you can get it. What I wouldn't recommend is that you start here, DT, unless it's one of those situations. If your partner isn't hitting you, if your partner doesn't have a weak serve, if your opponent isn't lobbing and just crushing it at you, then I want you to start in the middle of the box. There are going to be situations and balls that starting here, you can't get to the ball and poach it, and you would have been able to if you start in the middle of the box. So I want you to start in the middle of the box unless those situations that we discussed are occurring. Now with our second question, Max was asking about how to handle a head level ball that's traveling fast. The number one thing you have to know about height and contacting forehands or backhands at different heights is that the higher the ball is at contact, the farther away you have to play the ball from your body. And the lower the ball is at contact, the closer you have to stand. If you are playing low balls, medium balls, and high balls the same distance from your body, you will not hit all 3 equally. They have to be hit at different distances. Let's take this ball, for instance. So this ball is going to represent my contact. And what I want you to imagine is that though this ball is on the ground, that sometimes the ball is here, sometimes the ball is here, and sometimes the ball is here. So what I'm going to do to represent that is I'm going to try to keep my racket over the ball. And you can see that. My racket is over the ball, okay? If I'm playing the ball low, I'm going to stand quite close to the ball. Lower balls are played closer in distance from our body. Now, let's just say I'm going to stand this same distance as I just demonstrated with the low ball. I'm going to stand the same distance on a head level ball. So I'm going to have to do this. Now I'm trying my best to get the racket head above that ball. Look at my arm. I'm completely jammed. This is why players are jammed on high balls, because they're not accounting for the fact that our arm is a radius. And as we raise our arm, our hand and our racket get farther away from us. So in order to play this ball at head level, I'm going to have to stand over here. And now I hope I'm doing an okay job here. I'm trying to keep my racket above that ball. As I drop my racket, you can see, I'm too far away from it. So as I drop, I've got to get closer to the ball. And as I lift my racket, which means I'm showing you a higher contact point, I'm going to play the ball. I'm going to stand farther away from the ball. Max, I want you to film yourself hitting these shots. And I want you to notice, are you too close to the ball? You know, a lot of players, they hit the frame on a high ball. On the high ball, they hit right here. I've seen people hit the frame and they hit themselves in the head or hit themselves in the eye. It's very common that players frame high balls, and they tend to frame it on this part of the throat because they're standing the same distance on a head level ball than they did on a lower ball. So make sure when you're going to play a higher ball, Max, that you stand farther away from the ball. Just knowing that is going to help you. Another thing you can do, Max, on the higher ball, if it's traveling really fast, is you can just hit it as a volley. If somebody hits the ball really hard, you can just go boop and just go to your hand almost like a volley off the ground. You can use the same technique as a volley, and if it's going really fast, it's a nice, easy way to just block the ball. You could do that on a return of serve. If somebody hits a really fast kick serve, you can just do this. If you are going to hit topspin, I would recommend that you turn higher than you normally do. A mistake you see all the time with high balls is players drop really low as if the ball is going to be contacted here. So they drop really low and now the ball is up here and they've got to swing so vertically, they get way too much spin, not enough penetration into the back of the ball, and the ball, if it goes over, is super short and weak and the opponent can attack and move forward toward the net. So start higher on these balls. Yes, stand farther away, but start higher on these balls. Drop a little bit below contact, but then swing up to your opposite hand. So standing farther away is going to make an immediate impact. Turning higher than you normally do, dropping only a little bit below contact, but then finishing high in your opposite hand, I absolutely know it's going to help you handle those higher ground strokes. Now the last question is from and it's about opening up the racket too early on the serve and then hitting too flat into the back of the ball. As you said, it's like early pronation where you're making this move way too early and then hitting too flat. How do you stay on edge longer? Well, the first thing is to make sure you have the correct grip. I would say less than 10% of amateur players use the correct grip on their serve, but I would say 60% think they use the correct grip. So that's just my 25 years of experience. So you've got to make sure that you have the correct grip. Please stay away from a forehand grip. Get over to the backhand side of the grip and use the grip that actually brings the racket around on edge. You can see just from going from a forehand grip to a backhand grip what a difference that makes in the racket face. So it's an enormous difference. So a lot of players are doing this all because of their grip. So be sure that the base knuckle of your index finger and your heel pad are on panel number 2, the continental grip. The next idea is I don't want you to hit any flat serves, but rather I want you to only hit spin serves. I want you to lead up with the edge and have your intentions be to spin the ball. One of my favorite sayings is intentions drive technique. Our intentions, what we're trying to do, is really the driver of what we do. So if you're trying to hit flat serves, no wonder your racket's going to open up early and hit flat into the back of the ball if that's your tendency. So what we want is for you to have the feeling at first to come around leading with the edge of the racket so that you are spinning the ball. So no more flat serves. I want that ball rotating like the earth. Yes, you should be leading up with the edge even on a flat serve, but a lot of times when players try to hit flat, they open up too early. So I want you staying on edge and really embracing cutting the ball and getting the ball to spin off kilter. And the last thing I want to show you is a drill I want you to practice so you can feel what it's like to really come around with on edge, or even more with the racket face closed. If you look at Isner hit a serve, if you look at Federer hit a serve, when their racket comes around, their strings are pointing down before their racket gets on edge, before their racket pronates to contact. So I want you to embrace the fact that your racket is coming around, strings pointing down, by actually hitting the ball with the back side of the racket. Let me actually get a foam ball here. And I'm gonna serve, I'm gonna kind of kneel here so you can see this. I'm gonna kneel and I'm gonna hit with the back side of my strings. So the back of my hand. I'm not gonna pronate and have my palm face forward like this. I'm gonna do a drill, a practice drill, where I'm gonna come around, my racket strings are gonna point down, and I'm gonna use the back of my strings against the ball. I'm doing this as a way to feel what it's like to come around like Isner. Now what Isner does is he comes around with the racket face slightly closed, and in fact the racket's way over here because he's swinging so fast. And then the racket makes this move to contact. He's making this move. Well, if we can get you into this position by having you just practice using the back of the strings, that is going to give you the actual feeling you want to then come up to the ball and then turn at the last second, rather than opening it up too early. So what I'm going to do on this one, is I'm going to fool the ball. I'm going to make the ball think that I'm going to use the back of the strings. And at the very last second, or what feels to be, for me, the last second, I'm going to quick rotate my strings and have the late pronation like you were talking about. So I want the ball to think I'm going to use the back and then turn at the last second. I just hit myself on the top of that. There we go. It's a really good drill. So practice with the correct continental grip, spinning the ball and getting the ball to spin. See how that works with side spin. But then if you really need to, feel what it's like to use the back of the strings to know what it feels like to bring the racket around, and then try at the last second to actually turn to make contact with that late pronation. So DT, Max, thank you so much for these awesome questions. Again, if you have a question you would like me to answer in an upcoming Friday Q&A, please throw it in the comments below and let me know your thoughts about this, the double strategy, standing farther away on the higher ball, and how to make sure you don't open up your racket too early when trying to pronate. You work on these ideas and there is no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2MinuteTennis.net. DT, Max, you got this.